Hi, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our devotion for today, July 19th, 2021, is from St. Luke chapter 23, verses 44 through 49. Verse 44, it was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. Well, we would know the 6th hour as noon and the 9th hour as 3 p.m. in today's time. Verse 45, while the sunlight faded and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Scholars attribute this as an eclipse in the sky to an account for the sunlight failing and darkness to cover the whole land. The curtain temple, which was large and heavy, was torn from top to bottom, like one might tear a shirt in grief in the ancient world, to rip off their clothes in sorrow, and cover themselves with ash and sackcloth. So the presumption here, of course, is that God himself has torn the temple which separated his presence from the priests and the people. And now, with the death of Jesus, there is nothing in the way between God and the people. Verse 46, then Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last. Well, here is the moment of Jesus' death. With all the energy that he has left from his suffering and crucified body, Jesus says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And then he dies. The spirit of Jesus is placed in the Father's care. The body is placed in his disciples' care. And this is how it is today, right? A loved one dies and his or her spirit is then committed to God, and the body remains in our care, left for us to bury or cremate. God will raise our body. God will raise our ashes to be reunited with our spirit, which is in his care on the day of judgment. God has the power to create man from the dust of the ground. It is no great matter for God to raise a corpse or ashes or a body from the depths of the sea or from the graves in the ground, and to refashion whatever has eroded to be us again, and then reunite it with our spirit as we stand before him on the last day. Jesus' spirit is reunited with his dead body 3 days after his death, and it was able to raise Jesus from the dead. Verse 47 and 48. Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, certainly this man was innocent. And all the crowds that had assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home beating their breasts. Well, the centurion on hand perhaps had been in charge of the soldiers at the time of the crucifixion of Jesus, in charge of that detail. And having seen all that took place, he praises God and proclaims that Jesus was an innocent man. Perhaps the centurion was also a witness to what had taken place before Pilate, including when Pilate announced that he had not found Jesus guilty of any crime that would warrant crucifixion. And now he echoes Pilate's words. But with his proclamation, the crowd present to this spectacle, it's called, returned home beating their breasts, which is a common response of those seeking to repent, those who are filled with shame and guilt over what they had done. Have you ever done something and then felt horrible about it in some way or fashion? Perhaps you called yourself a name or a few names, or perhaps you hit your head on a table or a wall, or you hit your leg, or perhaps you did some other physical act. You were beating yourself up over it, literally. The ancient Israelites beat their breasts. Verse 49, And all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things. Luke tells us that all of Jesus' acquaintances and the women who had followed Jesus from Galilee stood at a distance and watched all of these things take place. If you watched an innocent person suffer by the treatment of others and kept your distance, why? Were you afraid that you'd be hurt? Aren't you hurt already by watching an innocent person being treated so badly by others? Doesn't your heart ache for them? What do you suppose Jesus' acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee, what do you suppose that they would pay or what they would do to back up time and then step in and help their Lord at some point before Jesus appeared to Pilate so he wouldn't be crucified? What would you do to stop an injustice from happening? What have you done? Because clearly, waiting until this point is too late to do anything except weep and beat your breast in guilt and shame. Go in peace, serve the Lord.